Because here's the truth. I do find myself hesitating to talk about my morning ritual because it's not actually about the specifics. I have always known underneath all of the specifics, underneath all of that, that there was a broader principle at work here, that there was something that was more applicable to more people than my specific ritual. So today, I want to go through my ritual in a completely different light than I ever have before. I've created a framework out of this ritual that definitely touches on every single thing that I do, but in a broader sense that you can take it, customize it, make it your own, and implement it so that it feels good to you and so that you can have the same benefits that I have.
Welcome to Breakthrough Mode, the podcast where we intentionally get into the driver's seat of our lives, shift out of monotony and mediocrity, and step on the gas towards becoming the person we were always meant to become.
Hello and welcome to episode 282 on the Breakthrough Mode podcast. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me and pushing play on today's episode. This week, we have been focused on the feeling of truly being alive. Like we are not just existing, we are not going through the motions, that feeling of truly being alive. And over the course of this week, I have introduced the idea that the feeling of being alive, of truly being alive, is a byproduct of intentional living, making intentional choices with your time, your energy, and your attention, and what you are creating your life to be. That there is a connection there, a direct correlation between your intentionality and this feeling of truly being alive. And then on Wednesday, I introduced to you the idea that this all starts in the morning. It starts first thing in the morning. So you can wake up in this reactionary mode of, I've got to get up, I've got to get ready, I've got to get to work, I've got to get the kids ready to go, I've got to do this, blah, blah. We can wake up and immediately start reacting to whatever is in our life, whatever is going on, or we can wake up on our terms. We can wake up with intention. And of course, this links back to my morning ritual, which has absolutely changed my life. And this week, I celebrated the second anniversary of having implemented that ritual in my life. And as I was reflecting on my morning ritual, this connection to intentional living and the byproduct of truly feeling alive, I asked myself, what is it about this ritual, not in a specific sense, but in a broader sense, that is actually the life-changing thing? Because here's the truth. I do find myself hesitating to talk about my morning ritual because it's not actually about the specifics. I've shared the specifics here a lot, but I have always known underneath all of the specifics, underneath all of that, that there was a broader principle at work here, that there was something that was more applicable to more people than my specific ritual. And of course, I find all the good stuff in reflection because I know my ritual works for me, and I know that there's a version of it that works for everyone. So today, I want to go through my ritual in a completely different light than I ever have before. I've created a framework out of this ritual that definitely touches on every single thing that I do, but in a broader sense that you can take it, customize it, make it your own and implement it so that it feels good to you and so that you can have the same benefits that I have, maybe without the same drawbacks that I have. Although I don't necessarily consider mine drawbacks, but I understand that a lot of people don't want to do the things that I do. And it's not even about the things that I do. And I understand that. And so whenever I talk about my ritual, I'm always really aware of that because I don't want anybody to shut the door simply because my way of doing it doesn't sound like the way you want to do it. So, the incredible thing here that I am so excited about is that I have actually created a framework using the word ritual as the acronym itself. It's so perfect. It's so delightful. I'm so excited about it. So, I'm going to take you through each of the 6 letters of ritual, what I do specifically, and what the actual important thing about it is so that you can take it and tailor it to you, your life, your preferences, who you want to become, and make that work for you so that it can change your life, so that it can make a difference to you. Before we dive into the 6 steps of the ritual, I have to preface this with all of this is based on having a vision of who you want to become. And if you've listened to the podcast for any amount of time, you know that becoming is kind of my soapbox. Everything is about becoming. And that's a tricky thing for people to figure out. It's not a normal topic of conversation. Once you're like out of college, people stop asking you who you want to become, even though becoming is a lifelong endeavor. It's a lifelong practice. You're always becoming no matter what. So you can become intentionally, you can intentionally create who you are and who you are going to be next. Or you can just kind of do it by going with the flow and seeing what happens and reacting to life. Of course, we're all about intention here in breakthrough mode. So, all of this is with the understanding that you have a vision of who you want to become so that you can build this ritual in that direction, so that this ritual supports your intentional becoming. So, I needed to get that out there as a preface. And now we can jump into the 6 steps of our ritual. So, this delightfully creates the acronym ritual. We will start with the letter R, of course. R stands for rise. Rise intentionally and take ownership of your day. This is not R for reacting. This is R for rise on your terms. Rise intentionally. The way that shows up for me in my life is I get up at 4:35. But I have to tell you, there is nothing magic about 4:35. There's nothing special about it at all. If that is absolutely appalling to you, then don't do it. Don't even try it. Whatever time you get up has to work for you, has to be intentional, and cannot be reactionary. That's the main difference here with this, is that you are getting up on your terms to take ownership of your day. Now, I said there's nothing magic about getting up at 4:35, but if there was, that magic thing would be there are rarely ever any conflicts with getting up at 4:35. There is rarely anything that ever gets in my way of my morning ritual because nothing else is happening at 4:35 in the morning. Nobody else is doing anything. No one's inviting me to anything. There are no school events. There are no coaching calls. There are no family events. Nothing is happening at 4:35. So that gets to be my time for my ritual on a daily basis. So while there is no magic thing to 4:35, if there was, that would be it. There are no conflicts. at 4:35 in the morning. The other reason that I get up at 4:35 is that my kids typically get up at 6 in the morning. And so I get that almost hour and a half to myself for my own ritual to completely follow through on that. No conflicts, no interruptions. That's my time to fill my cup, to do what I need to do, to take care of me so that I can put myself in that intentional state, intentionally set up my day before anybody else even has a desire, a request, a, a recommendation for my time. That's what's important. So when you rise intentionally. You rise to give yourself enough time for your ritual, for everything else that follows, that we'll go through one by one. That's the point. You rise to get intentional, to have an intentional start to your day. And that might take you an hour and a half, like it does me. It might take you 30 minutes. It might take you an hour. It might take you 15. The duration, I think, matters less than the intentionality around it and the impact that it makes for you. I would say that the more time that you spend, like I would recommend really probably nothing less than half an hour, because this is a time for you to really get in that space of becoming who it is you want to become and then setting up your day to support you truly stepping into that version of you that day. Okay, so R is rise. I stands for ink and inquire. Of course, ink is just my way of using the letter I to say, get your journal out. You need a journal. I will always be an advocate for journaling. It's a place where you can process your thoughts, your emotions, whatever is going on in your life. It's a place to gain clarity around the beliefs that are underneath your thoughts and emotions. It's a place for you to make gratitude lists, for you to ask yourself important questions. That's the other part of the I, is the inquire. There are so many questions that we don't ask ourselves that we would truly benefit from asking ourselves. Why am I feeling this way? What am I thinking? Who do I want to become? What would that version of me do today? The email that I send on Saturday is all about journal prompts, and I haven't run out of journal prompts yet because this is such an important part of the path. Figuring out what you want to do next, what that looks like, what your interpretations of events are, what your perspective is, what your mindset is. We do not ask ourselves enough questions. So while you use your journal to process, to gain clarity, it's also a really important place to ask yourself some really deep questions. Really good questions so that you can get some really good answers and really good information about yourself from your journal. Okay, R is rise. I is ink and inquire. T is, of course, your transformational habit. I've talked about the transformational habit here before, and it is something that I still wholeheartedly believe in. This transformational habit is the thing that you do, the thing that you engage in on a daily basis to step into who it is you want to become. When you have identified who it is you want to become, that version of you has a habit that you don't currently have. They have a way that they show up. They have a way that they do things. They have a habit that you don't currently have. And when you engage in that specific habit, you are creating a bridge from who you are now to who you want to become. Because if that person does that habit and you do that habit, or that version of you. Okay, so if that version of you has that habit and you do that habit, you are becoming that version of you. They would do this, you're doing it. You're doing the same thing. In that moment, you are being that version of you. This transformational habit is that link. This is a physical action that you do in the direction of being the person you want to become. It's something they do, so it's something that you do. This is a critical part of becoming. It just truly is. So the T stands for transformational habit. The U stands for up level. If the transformational habit is the physical thing that you're doing, the actual action, the activity, the up level is all of the mindset work, the identity shifts, the perspectives that you're choosing to step into. This is the internal work. This is you establishing how you are going to go meet your day, the way you're going to view things, the way you're going to think about things, the way that you are going to encourage yourself, the things that you're going to believe about yourself, about the world, about how things turn out for you. This is all of the internal work that is required to truly step into being that person. Because the physical action will only take you so far. Because everything truly changes on the outside once you have shifted on the inside. So the you, this up level, is this internal game. And I've used this example on the podcast before because it's an easy one to understand. But until I could get my head around, I could be a podcaster, like I could have a podcast, I could be the kind of person that has a podcast. It didn't really matter if I actually went through the actions of creating the podcast, because the energy, the identity underneath would be incongruent with the behavior. So the whole point of the up level is to make your identity, who you believe you are, what you think about yourself, what your mindset and your perspective is, congruent with the action, with the transformational habit, with you truly becoming that version of you. The A in ritual stands for align. This is the time for you to take a look at everything you have for that day, all of the activities that you are planning on engaging in, the tasks that need to get done, work that you're going to go to, the clients you're going to meet, the whatever you do all day long, and making them and and then aligning them with who you want to become. Aligning them either the way that you look at it, or maybe even actually shifting the tasks, the activities, the events on your schedule. It depends on what's going on. And, like this one's kind of vague because it depends on what you do in your life and what needs to be shifted. Maybe it's the way you look at it, or maybe it's the actual things on your calendar. I wouldn't be able to tell you unless we were sitting down working on your own life in a coaching session. But this is the time for you to align what your actual day is with who it is you want to become. That way, your day helps you become that person day by day. Now, when I first went through my whole ritual framework with Jake and I presented it to him the very first time and I came down to L, he already knew that the L stood for live. Go live your life intentionally. At the end of this ritual, that's the point. The whole point is for you to take all of this support, your journaling insights, your transformational habit, your up-leveling work, your alignment of your tasks and activities for that day. Take all of this and go live your day intentionally. Go live it fully. Be present, be there, shift when you need to, make changes where they need to be made. Be that person, live it intentionally. That is the whole point. The whole point about breakthrough mode is living life intentionally, being who you are made to be, doing what you are called to do, following the passions of your heart, the desires of your heart, being that person, living that life, having that experience. That is the whole point. That's the whole point. Your life is happening right now. right now. Not someday when the kids are older, not when work slows down, not when you feel all caught up, not when you're a different version of yourself. Right now. And the life you're creating isn't built on like these big dramatic moments. They're built in the ordinary moments. The way that you start your day, the choices that you make, the promises that you keep to yourself, the person that you decide to become. You don't need another planner. You don't need more information. You don't need to overhaul your life. You need a vision of who it is you want to become. You need a transformational habit that creates momentum. And you need a ritual that helps you live that life, become who it is you want to become one day at a time. If you would like support creating that for your own life, I invite you to get onto my email list right now. Very soon, I will be opening up opportunities where we can work in a small group or one on one, where we will build out your vision, establish your transformational habit, and create a ritual that fits into your actual life so that intentional living stops being something that you're trying to do and something that you just do naturally. But whether you join me or not, I hope you don't wait for someday. Start tomorrow. Start your ritual tomorrow. Rise. Rise with intention. Ink and inquire. Engage in your transformational habit. Up-level your thoughts, your mindset, your beliefs. Align everything that you have to do that day with who it is you want to become. And then go live your life intentionally. Because truly, the days feel so long sometimes, but the years are so short. And your life is way too important for you to sleepwalk through. I hope that you will start your ritual tomorrow morning. Let that be your day one. I totally love you. Bye for now.